This is IGN. After a very bumpy takeoff, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 has hit a smooth cruising altitude. This is your IGN review of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 by Seth G. Macy. I'm at a loss for how to start this review because I'm not sure I even believe what Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 actually is. An absolutely disastrous launch made it literally unplayable for the first 24 hours, and the next several days saw bugs and glitches popping up thanks to an unexpectedly high server load. And in spite of all that, now soaring through smooth skies after 58 hours of exploring the planet, working on building my career, taking photos of famous landmarks, and just messing around in free flight, I sat back in my chair this week and said to myself, I can't believe it. They did it again. No one was there to hear me, but all the impressive new features and improvements that Microsoft has built upon its predecessor's already masterful groundwork made it worth saying out loud just the same. Graphically, Flight Simulator 2024 is a step up in a lot of ways. Perhaps the most noticeable is the change in the seasons. Since I live in Maine, I tend to explore it in sim more than most other places, just because it's cool to see how one-to-one the digital twin is compared to the Earth we're living on now. This makes me an expert on what Maine looks like, which isn't a very desirable trait to have in most situations, but for this review, perhaps no one is more qualified. In late autumn, the trees in both the sim and in real life are devoid of foliage. Wooden skeletons set on the rolling hills and small mountains of this northeastern state. The pattern of grayish-brown is broken by populations of dark green evergreen trees like spruce and pines, and that sparse hibernatory period is reflected perfectly in Flight Simulator 2024. Flight Simulator 2024 has a few new modes, including on-foot photo challenges and time trial races with leaderboards, but the one I found the most compelling was the career mode. Whereas I primarily use the power of imagination to add tasks to my free flights in 2020's Flight Simulator, in career mode, you have actual missions to complete once you unlock the requirements to do so. Career mode was the first moment in my Flight Simulator 2024 experience where I said to myself, okay, this rules actually. I mean, free flight is excellent, but I've been doing that since the last Flight Sims 2019 alpha. But career mode, requiring me to have a method to my madness? I love it. Another one of Flight Simulator 2024's new features is Challenge League, a competitive mode where you're presented with a set of 3 challenges that are updated weekly. Launch week had a Grand Canyon rally race, a low-altitude FA-18 challenge, and a landing challenge. I initially took on the Grand Canyon rally and really enjoyed it. I felt compelled to keep racing to better my time and to beat the next best person on the leaderboard. Challenge League is about as close to an arcade experience you'll find in Flight Simulator 2024, and even though it's all about fun, the flight model remains the same. In other words, the planes all act and fly exactly as they do in the wider sim. You're completing fanciful challenges using meticulously simulated aircraft and conditions, so you can't suddenly pretend like you're playing Ace Combat. World Photographer is another challenge-type mode, but it's much more low-key and shows off just how detailed Asobo was able to make the Earth's digital twin. You're tasked with taking photos of various landmarks around the world, and to get the best possible score, you need to fulfill certain requirements. Probably the most incredible, interesting, and ultimately nerdy addition of Flight Simulator 2024 is the Flight Planner. It's a web-based tool that does an excellent job of replicating the flight planning software and resources actual pilots use while planning their real-world flights. The concept itself isn't new. There have been apps doing this for Flight Simulator for a while, but this one is free and completely integrated with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, developed by one of Asobo's partners, Working Title. We have hit cruising altitude. You can safely unbuckle your seatbelts and move freely about the cabin. I was extremely skeptical as to whether or not Asobo could capture the lightning in a bottle of 2020's Microsoft Flight Simulator again. But after Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 took the time to clean up its launch problems and I really got to know its new features, I am once again astonished. It's more than just simulating the experience of flying. You can use it to learn the technical side of how pilots actually fly planes, including the stuff that doesn't involve ailerons and elevators and trim thanks to the EFB and Flight Planner. When I encounter some new term I don't understand, all it does is make me want to learn more so I can fly virtual airplanes on a digital twin of the planet Earth with as much realism as possible. It's not flawless, with some lingering problems in those new systems and tutorials that are lacking or worse, non existent, making Google a constant companion, but I am still in awe of what's here, and I cannot wait to spend hundreds of hours exploring it. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024's IGN score? 9 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.